On your second point, there's no doubt that Bill Clinton was both his wife's greatest supporter and probably smartest advisor, but also probably her greatest liability in some respects, or one of her greatest liabilities. She had various liabilities, but by the time that Bill Clinton starts to take an active role in her campaign, and remember, one of the most surprising things in the book is that it's throughout 2007, when people think that Bill Clinton is the secret force behind her campaign, he's actually less involved in her campaign than most spouses are involved in their spouses' campaigns. But after she loses Iowa, he becomes very active, and we show in the book how much he takes control of the campaign in New Hampshire, in Nevada, in South Carolina, and his miscalculations in Nevada and South Carolina, which alienate a huge part of the African-American base in the party, were hugely damaging to her. There's no question about it.
Our guest is John Heilemann, who, along with Mark Halperin, is writing. That's why I don't teach English, you see. Has written a bestseller, Game Change, about the 2008 campaign. One of the things that I thought was interesting, although not mentioned a lot, nor did it deserve a lot of mention, was Rudy Giuliani's precipitous free fall from being somebody who might be able to be the candidate to someone who became a national joke. Did you see this coming?
Well, I think it was true, Sam, among most of the people in the political class, that Rudy Giuliani was seen as someone who was something of a paper candidate, of a paper tiger. You know, he was a guy that's not to in any way take away from what Rudy Giuliani accomplished as mayor of New York City. He was a very successful mayor here. There's no question about it. But much of the political class looked at his poll numbers throughout 2007 when he was the front runner in terms of the national polls in the Republican Party. They looked at him and thought, he is just too liberal on social issues, on questions of abortion, on questions of gay rights, having had a very complicated personal life with multiple marriages and having gotten involved with his most recent marriage while he was still married to his previous wife. Those were things that we all, as political journalists, thought would be problematic for him with a Republican base that's very conservative on social issues. So there was doubt about it. Now, at the same time, he was a national figure. He was one of the few people in the Republican Party who could walk into a bar anywhere in the country and have someone buy him a beer. And he had, because of his reputation around 9/11, he had some, whether they were deserved or not, he had national security credentials. What the book shows, I think, is that, again, we go back to this question of public image versus private reality. Rudy Giuliani's public image was that he was the ultimate tough guy, this street fighter from New York. And what the book shows is that he was actually a pussycat, that behind the scenes, that his advisors were constantly telling him, you need to get tough. John McCain is on the ropes. You need to put the dagger in him, kill him off, get him out of the race. Mitt Romney is not catching on. We need to drive him out of the race. And every time his advisors would advise Rudy to stick the fork in those guys, they would put negative ads in front of Rudy Giuliani. He would say, no, I don't want to do that. I like John McCain. He's my friend. I don't want to attack John McCain. They would put, even when Romney was attacking Giuliani in vicious ways, they would put negative ads in front of him or negative direct mail. Rudy would say, no, I don't want to do that. The party doesn't like that. I don't want to be a divisive figure. He turned out to not have the instinct for the jugular that many people thought was Rudy Giuliani's forte. And in a lot of respects, if Giuliani had been willing to do some of those things, because those two guys were the only other two serious Republican candidates, really, he might have been able to pull it off. But as you say, you know, once McCain was able to get new life and was able to get back on track after having had a hard time in 2007, Rudy's chances very rapidly kind of fell apart, and it turned out that all of us in some sense had been right, that this was all a bit of a mirage.
My favorite comedic moment in the campaign is when Rudy Giuliani was speaking to a group of people from the National Rifle Association.
Yes.
And he took a call from his wife. Let me say two things about that before I get to my next question. Number one, that person on the other end of that phone was no more his wife than I am. Okay, some aide called him. I absolutely believe that. His wife didn't know he was going to be at that meeting. Come on. It was some aide, and he's going, hi, honey, and I can just hear the aide going, hi, Mr. Mayor. Oh, man. And two, you're trying to impress the NRA that you're a tough guy, and you're interrupting your own speech to take a call from your wife. Wow. Anyway, I know you're busy, and I know you have a lot to do, so let me wrap this up by asking you this question. Barack Obama became president of the United States with less than a full term in the Senate, a guy who was virtually unknown outside of Illinois until 2004. Is this a good sign for American politics, or is this a sign that there's no one else who could step up and take this most important position?
Well, Barack Obama is an awfully impressive guy, and there's no question.
Absolutely.
And there's no question that, as the book shows, he ran an extraordinarily good campaign, and he caught the mood of the country exactly right in a way that Hillary Clinton did not. He seized on an opportunity. He could see what the weaknesses, with the help of the secret backing of a lot of the Democratic establishment. He could seize on an opportunity that few would have had the guts to try to take. So, there's nothing there. The book in Game Change. We describe a lot of weaknesses that Obama had that people haven't necessarily seen, and various ways in which his campaign was not as smooth functioning as it was perceived from the outside. But there's no question he ran a great campaign for president. I think the question that's raised, that arises if you look at what's happened over the course of the first year for Obama, which I think even his deepest and most loyal supporters would admit has not been a good year, is not so much whether he was too inexperienced to be president, but whether being able to run a great campaign really tells you that you're in fact able to run a great White House and run a great administration. And it's been surprising to me, having watched the campaign so closely, and now watching the first year of the administration so closely, just the disjuncture between the steadiness and the adroitness that he demonstrated during the campaign, and how so much of the first year was so badly managed politically. It's been, and these are many of the same people who ran the campaign and right now are trying to run the country, from people like David Axelrod, people like Robert Gibbs. These are very smart guys, but what may be on display here is the fact that the skills that are required to win a political campaign are very different from the skills that are required to successfully run the country, and even different from the skills that are required to be politically successful in the White House.
I can't thank you enough for writing this book, let alone the interview. This book, it's really, for someone like me who has a short attention span, this book is great, and it's a wonderful read, and for a big book, it's a fast read. And I want to thank you very much, you and Mark Halperin, for writing Game Change, available all over the country from Harper, and of course it's on every website in the world, and you can see Mr. Heilemann and Mr. Halperin, I'm sure, on a lot of talk shows, and we're very glad you took the time to be with us. Thank you so much.
Sam, thank you for having me, and thank you for reading and enjoying the book.
Oh, it was great. Thank you so much. You take care.
Okay, bye-bye.